I've been using a Leica M11 for almost 3 years. I had the original black one when it first came out, and then about a year ago, I picked up the M11P Safari. This is my dream camera, and sadly enough, this is not the one that I bought originally. But I'm not gonna go into all that. That chapter of my life is well behind. I'm not even gonna link it above, because I don't even wanna get into it ever again. I've covered this camera extensively in the past. Today is not a review of the M11, but I am asking the question, is the M11 still the king? Now, all these cameras out on the table are cameras that I took with me on a road trip I just got home from last week. My friend Benj flew down from Seattle, and he and my other friend Scott and we drove out to NAB in Las Vegas, but we went through the Eastern Sierras and then into Death Valley and then on to Vegas. NAB is this like conference that is for broadcasters, a lot of camera companies there, a lot of the YouTube world is there. Benj flew home from Vegas from that conference, and then Scott and I drove back. We took Route 66 back into California and then up the 5, which is a brutal drive, but we did it all. Got some photos along the way back too. And honestly, every camera that I took was used. Cameras are 2 parts to a photographer. It's like the experience of using the camera and then the output that comes out of it. And the best camera for you is the one that marries the experience you want in a camera with the photos that come out of it. And for many photographers, that is like an elusive marriage. It's really hard to find. But if you can find it, then you gotta hold on to it. For a long time now, I have felt like I have found that in a camera like an M11. I say like an M11 because prior to the M11, I had the M10R and M10 and M8, M6, and I kind of said the same thing about all those cameras too. It's like the marriage of the experience I want and the photos that come out of it. In today's video, I want to just kind of break down these other cameras against my experience with the M11. Because there's some interesting stuff on the table here. Of course, there's the M6, which we'll talk about first in just a moment, but there's also the Hasselblad X2D Mark II. Fuji loaned me this GFX100RF, very different camera. And then I recently picked up this Pentax 645N2. It's an autofocus medium format camera, 645 negative, beautiful, big negative. I don't know, like this is a very different experience with very different photos. One thing that I did that was kind of special for me on this trip was, even though I brought a lot of cameras, I didn't bring any lens options. Even with the M6 and the M11 here, I didn't bring but one lens. What I was trying to do was force myself to not carry more than one thing at a time. The only time I used 2 cameras was when I made an intentional video comparing this Fuji to the 645 regarding the output of a digital medium format against a film medium format. If you want to watch that video, I posted it last week and it's listed right above, right here. But I didn't bring multiple lenses for any camera, and this is a fixed lens, so it is what it is. When I was using the M6, I couldn't use the M11. I only brought the one for the Hasselblad, the 55V. I did have 2 lenses for the Pentax, but this is a newer system for me. I've got the 45, and then I've got some giant zoom lens. I did take both, and I used both, but obviously not at the same time. A lot of the photos that were taken across all of these cameras was of the Ineos Grenadier. I did a commercial shoot for them. They hooked us up with a Grenadier to go to Vegas in. That was awesome. So I got to go across Death Valley in this really badass vehicle. And it was a great photography and video subject the whole time we were out there. So we drove from the Bay and we went to Lone Pine. We walked around Lone Pine at night, and I took only the 55V on the Hasselblad. This was really just seeing how well this camera did in low light. It has insane image stabilization, and I don't say that lightly. Like, you can handhold this camera for several seconds and get a sharp photo. This is not a review of this camera, but I did want to take it out in low light and shoot some of the neon signs. Did that, had a fun time, it was cool. The photos you're seeing right now, some of the neon around Lone Pine. Fun place to shoot. But the next morning was like the serious shoot. It was a sunrise shoot with the Grenadier out at Alabama Hills. And for that shoot, I used the Leica M6. I put a roll of Portra 400 in there, and that is what I shot that morning. I didn't move the lens over here and try to get digital backups on this camera, though I did shoot a few digital backups as a fail-safe on the Hasselblad because it's already ready to go. No, taking the lens off and moving it. It was very windy that morning. The photos that I got on the M6, let's just think through them real quick as we compare them to what would have come out of the M11. These photos, they're great. I'm happy with the composition. compositions. The compositions would have been the same though on the M11, so it's not unique to the M6. But really the question becomes like, when I look at these photos, even though they're on Portra 400, which is like really fine grain compared to other 400 speed films, I still just feel like they're kind of grainy. They're kind of grainier than I would have wanted. I am very happy that I shot that on the M6, but I think I would be happier if I would have just done the M11. And this is something that I've like learned about myself, or maybe I could say like I've confirmed about myself. As much as I want to, I just don't love 35mm film. I don't love the resolution. I don't love how grainy it is, even at lower speeds. I'm just like really starting to come to terms with the fact, if I have digital as an option or just like this high res, especially in a commercial shoot, I'm probably gonna lean more towards something like this. Or even medium format. We'll talk about that more in a moment. But I don't know, guys, like it's hard for me to admit that because I really want to love film photography on the 35mm film, on the M6 or any other 35mm camera that I have, but in like the spirit of honesty and transparency. If I'm picking between these two, I probably would pick this one. I've had way too much coffee today. I started this video with coffee. I've switched over to water because I finished it. Cool people drink water. Water's cool. So in regards to the M6, I think that for me, the M11 just, it's experience and output, you know? And while I love the experience of this, I prefer the output of this. Let's talk for a minute about the X2D. I've had this camera now for about 8 months. I got it in the late summer of last year. Math. I've made a lot of photos on this camera too. This feels like a very serious camera to me. Like, it feels like when I'm holding this, I'm gonna do something like legit. This camera has the best ergonomics I've ever had in a camera. You cannot beat the grip on this. And the photos that come out of this are insane. They're so good. And ever since I picked up the 55V game changer lens, this lens has so much pop to it. It just looks so good. It honestly looks like medium format. I love this camera and this lens. But here's the however. It's an autofocus camera packed full of tech. What I love about the M6 is how it's not bad. I feel like the M11 is somewhere in between a film camera and this is probably the most tech advanced camera that I have. The X2D makes absolutely incredible and beautiful photos, but I'm gonna take this camera when I'm doing something serious. And it's not a camera I think I'm just gonna carry like every single day. And for that reason, I'm just back to the M11 again. I just feel like this is still the one. Then I had this one enter my life. This is a Fuji GFX RF 100. This is a very interesting camera too, because it definitely checks the size box. I mean, when you look at these two, they are very similar in size. The GFX RF 100 is bigger, but not by much. It's actually a little lighter than my Safari. This is a brass camera. It's very heavy. This camera is a little lighter. Feels good. Ergonomics aren't bad on it either. I'm used to no grip, and so I added this thumb grip, this IDS Works thumb grip on here and gives me, you know, a nice handheld grip. But this camera, the Fuji, has a little bump out, you know, grip notch. It's not big, and honestly, it's too small for my hand. I think if I was like being really serious with this camera and wanted a grip, I'd add one. Or maybe a thumb, you know, a thumb grip would get the job done. Ergonomically though, it's not a bad camera. It's actually light, feels good. This camera has the same 100 megapixel sensor as this one does. And that is bananas. Like, in this form factor, to get 100 megapixels, is pretty crazy. The fun factor of this camera is definitely there for an autofocus camera with a fixed lens. I wish the lens was faster, but I get it. It's a 35 f4. It's the equivalent of a 28 f3 point something or other. Trying not to be too techie, especially on this channel, because it's just not what I'm about. I'm not really trying to overthink the specs on this. It's a fun camera. It's fun to use. However, I don't know from a practical standpoint the role this camera would have in my life. I don't know. One of the strengths of this camera is the film sims. I mean, that's like Fuji is known for that. They build these incredible options to create a JPEG that looks how you want it to look. It can basically come out of your camera already stylized in a way that is consistent to your style and built like how you want it to look. This camera has a lot of options in it, but when you start to use those options, it slows the camera down big time. So I was shooting on RAW, and I had a Portra 160 film sim on this that I got from Fuji X Weekly. Richie makes these incredible looks. Check it out. Now, I learned this after I got to NAB and I was talking to the reps at Fuji because I had one big complaint about this camera as I came across Death Valley. It is so slow in how I was using it. So I'm gonna show you guys, check this out. I'm gonna take a photo of myself. It's in RAW and fine JPEG, or super fine, whatever their highest one is. Okay, do you see me on there? There's my autofocus, here I go. 1, 2, 3. 3 seconds before I can use the camera again. That feels like a long time. What I found out was that there is an option in here called clarity. If you see any of my presets at shopverygood.com, you're gonna see that like, I turn clarity down. In fact, all the photos that are on my Instagram, my website, clarity is like between -20 and -30. I don't like clarity. So I did turn clarity down on this, and I found out that that was the culprit. That was what was making the JPEG write so slow. But then I'm like, okay, if you're gonna include these kinds of things in the camera, let's put a processor in it that supports those things as they should. I really struggled to understand who this camera is for. I did have fun using it, and if you saw the video I did where I was shooting out the 645 in this as I was doing a commercial shoot of the Grenadier, man, like you can really do a lot with the files that come out of here, the raw files. You can edit them like insane. Like there's so much latitude on these. I was able to color grade and match Portrait 160 out of the Pentax to this camera here almost like within 90-95%. I was very happy with how that turned out. So the fun factor is there, the raw files are there. Fuji's menu, I mean, it's kind of a hot mess. I feel like Fuji people just know that and it's part of the charm. Like I would want to shoot film sims if I had a camera like this, but I don't know if I'd want to shoot 100 megapixel film sims, and I don't know if I would want to compromise, like turning the clarity back to 0 so the camera's faster. So I don't know. It's hard to say, but if I was comparing these two, the Fuji and the Leica, man, the Leica is still king. Though I'm open-minded about Fuji. I think it's cool. I definitely feel like it's niche, and I like niche. So there was one more camera I haven't even mentioned yet that I was shooting with on this trip. You ready for it? It was the iPhone 17 Pro, but you don't have to have an iPhone 17 Pro for what I'm about to show you. I have put a very special link right below to the Very Good camera in beta. This app turns your phone into a very good camera, which maybe if you're new here, you're not familiar, but my company is called Very Good. We make color grades. All that is linked below. Be sure to check it out. We also make really awesome straps from American Bison. All these cameras have one on there. The photos that you are seeing right now were all shot on the Very Good camera app in beta. There are 3 looks. There is a Very Good 400, a Very Good 800 for like indoors and low light, and a Very Good black and white. We call it TX. You can figure all those out when you download the app. This app is meant to be elegant and simple, not overly complicated. We're not doing like all this editing in there. You can customize your look somewhat, and then it's a point and shoot for you just to have fun and enjoy. It is currently only available for iOS, but Android will be coming hopefully in the summer, so just follow along and keep your eyes open. If you want to beta test the Very Good camera, be sure to hit that link right below and download it. So let's talk a little more about these cameras, and we'll put this one away. So I talked about the M6 and how I was struggling with that like low res. Well, I took a lot of photos on this guy. It may have been my most used camera on the trip, but the highlight wasn't even the commercial stuff I did with it. It was when I took this camera out on the dunes in Death Valley. Now, I had brought 3 film stocks with me out as we walked around the desert. There was a roll of Portrait 160 that was unfinished from the commercial shoot with the Grenadier. It was still in here, so I did some photos on that. Then I switched over to Ektar because it was bright and sunny, and I think Ektar is beautiful when it's exposed correctly. And then I finished the day off with Fuji 400H, some expired film that I've had. Everything turned out awesome. Like, I really love how all the scans turned out. They were developed in Vegas, scanned on an Aritsu. I got the photos back like really fast, and I was just so happy with them. You know, for film photography, it's hard to beat medium format because it is very high res, very fine grain, especially when you're shooting something like Ektar 100 or Portrait 160. And I mentioned how I learned something about myself, you know, with film, I would just rather shoot medium format than 35. It just is what it is. I'm just gonna own it. Not to mention 15 photos and I'm done. 36, man, I feel like sometimes it takes me forever to get through a roll of 36. It's like 36 doesn't feel like a lot on this, but it feels like a lot to me on the M6. 15 though, easy peasy. Very happy with everything that came out of this camera. Very special photos. It was awesome. Loved it. But with all that said, it's hard to class these two together. I mean, this is a film camera from the early 2000s, but it is a massive medium format camera. It's bigger than my Hasselblad, which shoots a bigger negative. It's bigger than my Rolleiflex, which shoots a bigger negative. Like, it's a big camera. And with that other lens on it that I brought out to Death Valley, it's even bigger. This is a camera for, you know, special occasions and when I want to shoot medium format film with autofocus in a 645. It was really fun to take all of this gear out into the desert on a road trip, one lens for every camera, and just see what happens. When we go out and we do stuff and we come home and we've learned something about ourselves, that feels like a win, even if the photos aren't great. I was happy with how most of the photos turned out. I was especially happy with how the Grenadier photos turned out, which was the most important photos I got on that trip, being that, you know, I was doing a shoot for them. But even like the other things I did that you've been seeing as we've talked about these cameras, like I've been very happy with the photos that came out of all of these. And I mean, don't get me wrong, right? I love film, I love digital, I love photography. Like, that's what it comes down to. But I am more resolute than ever, but I'm definitely an M guy. And while these other cameras, they might have a place in my photography journey at different seasons and for different things, this is really the one though. This is the king. This is the one. So recognizing how privileged it is to sit here with a kit like this on the table and then other cameras on the shelf and in the trunk over here and, you know, just other stuff, though I have been downsizing a lot, got a ways to go still. But as you've seen the photos for yourself, you know, the things that came out of here, what experience would you choose and what do you think the best output was? Like, do you agree about 35 mil? Maybe you have better results than I do. Maybe it's the lab, but I've tried different labs. Maybe it's me. But I'd love to hear what you think, whether it's about the experience or the output, what photos resonated the most with you, what system would resonate the most with you. Drop a comment and let me know. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.